We often mistake intelligence for the accumulation of facts, but true insight is found in how we navigate the unknown. There is a shadow in the rigid mind. Psychology reveals signs not of a broken brain, but of a stalled spirit. It is the tragedy of a consciousness that has built walls where doors should be. The first sign is the death of curiosity. There are those who walk through a museum of wonders with their eyes cast down, fearing what they do not know. To lack curiosity is to live in a shrinking room. The walls move closer every year until the mind believes that its small enclosure is the entire universe. You might know someone like this. When presented with a new idea, they do not ask questions. They retreat into the safety of what they have always known. Then there is the haunting silence of empathy. True intelligence requires the ability to step out of your own skin and feel the weight of another's life. But for some, other people are merely cardboard cutouts. They cannot imagine a mind different from their own, trapping them in a lonely, singular reality. This is not malice. It is a cognitive limitation. The mental bandwidth required to hold two perspectives at once is simply not there. It is a handicap. Consider the illusion of absolute certainty. The wisest minds are filled with doubt, constantly questioning their own reflections in the mirror of truth. Yet, the limited mind wears certainty like armor. They scream their truths because a whisper would invite question, and a question might shatter them. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect in its rawest form. It is the loud confidence of the incompetent, a protective mask worn to hide a deep inadequacy. They do not know what they do not know. It is a blindness that believes it is sight, a darkness that insists it is the only light the world has ever seen. Watch how they handle the grey areas of life. Intelligence thrives in nuance, in the messy space between opposing truths, where reality actually lives. But the restricted mind demands binaries. Good or bad, friend or enemy, right or wrong. Complexity feels like a physical threat to their sense of order. If you try to explain a paradox to them, watch their eyes glaze over. The mental energy required to hold conflict without resolving it is too expensive. Then there is the relationship with time. The ability to delay gratification is a marker of a mind that can visualize a future that does not yet exist. But some live entirely in the tyranny of the now. They cannot sacrifice the present moment for a future reward because the future feels like a fiction. This leads to a life of repetitive chaos. They make the same mistake over and over, shocked each time by the outcome they failed to foresee coming. It is a tragic loop. Without the capacity for self-reflection, they are doomed to reenact their history, unaware they are the authors of their own pain. Listen to how they speak. Is it a conversation, or is it a broadcast? The limited mind struggles to listen because listening requires suspending the ego. They wait for their turn to speak, rehearsing their lines while you pour out your heart. Your words dissolve into the air, untouched and unacknowledged. There is a profound loneliness in interacting with such a mind. You realize you are not being met. You are merely being used as a mirror for their vanity. Consider their reaction to being wrong. For the intelligent, a mistake is a data point, a necessary step toward growth. It is a lesson, not a sentence. But for the fragile intellect, being wrong feels like a death. To admit an error is to let the foundation of their identity crack. So they deny it, or they will rewrite history before they say, "I apologize." The psychological cost of humility is too high for a budget that is already stretched too thin. This brings us to the external locus of control. When things go wrong, is it always the world's fault? The boss, the spouse, the government, the weather? The inability to take responsibility is a defense mechanism. If nothing is their fault, they never have to change. They remain safe in their stagnation. It is a protective cocoon that suffocates the soul. They become the eternal victim in a story where they have no agency, drifting wherever the wind blows. Observe their sense of humor. Wit relies on connection, on seeing the absurdity in the human condition. It requires a leap of logic and a touch of grace. But often, the limited mind relies on cruelty disguised as humor. They punch down because lifting others up requires a strength they do not possess. Sarcasm becomes a weapon, not a tool. It is used to distance themselves from vulnerability, to keep the world at arm's length, so it cannot hurt them. Notice how they handle silence. An expansive mind finds peace in the quiet, using the space to reflect, to dream, to connect with the deeper self inside. But for some, silence is terrifying. It is the sound of the void. They must fill it with noise, with distractions, with anything to drown out the self. They scroll, they talk, they consume. The goal is to never be alone with their own thoughts, for fear of what they might find lurking in the shadows. This avoidance of the inner world arrests development. You cannot heal what you cannot hear. You cannot fix a machine you are afraid to open up and see. There is also the reliance on stereotypes. Thinking is hard work. It consumes glucose and energy. Stereotypes are mental shortcuts for the lazy mind. Instead of seeing the complex human before them, they apply a label. It saves them the effort of empathy, but it robs the world of its beautiful color. If you challenge these labels, you become the enemy. You are asking them to dismantle the scaffolding that holds their simplified reality together. It is crucial to look at this with compassion, not judgment. We are all guilty of these behaviors at times. We all have moments where our minds close. The difference lies in the pattern. Is the closed door a momentary reaction to stress? Or is it the architecture of the entire house? That is the key. Ask yourself, when was the last time you changed your mind on a fundamental belief? If you cannot remember, you may be drifting into these waters. Intellectual humility is the antidote. It is the quiet voice that says, "I could be wrong, and that is okay." It is the soil where true wisdom grows. The most dangerous sign is the inability to link cause and effect. They see life as a series of random events, not a tapestry woven by their choices. They are baffled when the bridge burns, forgetting they were the one playing with matches. This disconnection from reality is the deepest tragedy. It creates a life of bewilderment. They feel persecuted by a universe that is simply responding to their actions. They are fighting a ghost in the mirror. Jung spoke of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny. The limited mind has a vast shadow, projecting its own failures onto everyone it meets. They see anger in others because they cannot own their rage. They see stupidity in others because they fear their own incompetence. It is a projection, but there is a way out. It begins with the courage to be unsure. It starts by embracing the discomfort of not knowing and sitting with the question. Intelligence is not just about IQ scores. It is about adaptability. It is the willingness to let your old self die so that a new, wiser self can emerge. We must learn to spot these signs in ourselves. When do we shut down? When do we mock what we do not understand? When do we choose comfort over truth? The mind is like a muscle. If it is not stretched, it atrophies. It stiffens into a shape that can no longer hold the expanding complexity of life. Breaking these patterns requires emotional labor. It hurts to admit we were wrong. It hurts to realize our worldview was too small. But it is necessary. Realize that every person you meet knows something you do not. Even the closed mind teaches you the value of openness. Everything is a lesson for you. Do not look down on those who display these signs. See them as a warning. See them as a reminder of how easily the light of curiosity can be extinguished. Ultimately, the measure of a mind is its capacity for love. For to love truly is to understand, to empathize, and to accept the complexity of another. If we lose that, no amount of logic can save us. We become brilliant machines with empty hearts, calculating our way into a profound isolation. So keep your door ajar. Let the strange winds of new ideas blow through. Let them rearrange your furniture. It is the only way to keep the house alive. Your intelligence is a living thing. Feed it with doubt. Water it with questions. And let it grow wild, beyond the fences of what you think you know. The world is vast and full of shadows. But if you are willing to carry the lantern of humility, you will never be lost in the dark for very long. If these words sparked a light in your mind, share your reflection below. Let us build a community that values the question more than the answer.